Good evening, class. My name is Jdarbonn. This presentation will go over POP3S and SMTPS. I am recording it on February 18th, 2018, and it is being recorded for ISA4200 Spring Semester 2018. To start off, we have an overview of what this presentation will cover. We will first discuss POP3S for Linux and hardening techniques for POP3S. And we will also discuss SMTPS for Linux and Windows and hardening techniques for this as well. POP3S first saw its origin in 1988. POP2 was developed in 1985 and POP1 in 1984. POP3 was originally an unencrypted protocol requiring only a username-password combo to access the mail on the client end. So there was no need for any encryption or SSL or anything of that nature. It would simply send the mail from server to client. And when the mail was retrieved off the server, it would typically be deleted as well. And this transference happened over port 110, which was an unencrypted, unsecured port. And what I mean by it was deleted off the server entirely, it meant when you download the mail from the server to your client computer, any traces of that mail is completely erased off the server and sent directly to your computer. So that would make it rather difficult to view on multiple machines because all of that information would be downloaded to the single machine that you used at first. And so that is why POP3 wasn't as strong, because it was unsecured. But with POP3S, it is a secured version using port 995, and it uses the transport layer security or security socket layers to make this transfer from server to client an encrypted transfer, so that people in the middle have a harder time getting their hands on what the information is, rather than just being able to sniff in the middle of the transfer to find out what is in the mail. Next, we will talk about hardening techniques. One good way to harden the system is to delete inactive accounts and create strong passwords to keep your system as safe as possible. The reason you want to delete inactive accounts is to ensure that there are less avenues that hackers can use to get onto the server. So the less accounts there are that are inactive on the server, the better. And creating strong passwords that can't be broken through brute force attacks or rainbow tables is also very important. So making sure your passwords are unique and strong is very important to security and hardening. You also want to make sure you enable spam protection to make sure you don't open harmful or unwarranted emails. Spam protection will just send unrecognized senders mail to the spam folder, which you can instantly delete, to ensure that you are not opening mail that will put viruses or malware or trojans on your computer. And this is a very important aspect of hardening POP3S. And you also want to make sure you run updates that come out. These updates are usually security based or bug fixes, and allowing these updates to go through to make sure your system is as up to date as possible is very important for securing POP3S. And on the next slide, we are going to move on to SMTPS. SMTPS is a simple way to secure SMTP, and it was first defined in 1982, and the securing of SMTPS is done at the transport layer using port 465. And when communication is occurring between two servers, it is port 25, and if a mail client is trying to contact a mail server, it uses port 587. And the transmission control protocol is used in this for a strong data channel. This allows for secure network exchange of the mail from server to server or server to client. And SMTPS, unlike POP3, is used for both inbound and outbound mail. In order to harden SMTPS, you want to update often to ensure security patches go through properly. These updates, like POP3S and firewalls and servers and IP tables and things of that nature will mostly include bug fixes and hot fixes for security issues that were there before. So closing up backdoors or fixing anything that was present beforehand is usually what will happen in these updates. You will also want to maintain an IP blacklist and avoid spam, phishing attacks, and malware from unknown or harmful IP addresses. A blacklist simply will tell the server what not to allow through, and you can usually use this to block IP addresses that send spam or viruses or trojans or anything harmful like that through the network. So IP blacklists are incredibly important. You could also go with a whitelist, which is the opposite of a blacklist and just tells you what can and can't go through. If you'd rather tell it the few links you want it to go through rather than having to block off or blacklist every single bad IP address, you could just whitelist the good IP addresses. And you should also limit the number of connections to ensure a DOS attack can't occur with a mail bomb or something of that nature, since the most harmful and most used type of virus or attack on SMTPS is DOS, which is denial of service. You want to limit those connections because the more connections you have, the more mail can be sent through and the quicker the denial of service will occur. So the less connections you have, the harder it will be to deny the service to your server. So watching those connections is important as well. And that is about it for these two systems or services. SMTPS and POP3 are rather simple. And that will conclude the presentation. And the last slide we have is works cited, and I hope everyone has a fantastic night.